Before we get into today's training camp news, I'm sticking with my preseason week 1 deal. If we get to 196,000 subscribers by August 7th, that's the day the Raiders go up against the Seattle Seahawks, which we will be live for. I'm going to be giving away an Ashton Genty jersey. So if you're not already part of the Raiders Report fam, hit that sub button. Who knows? You might get a jersey. Coming up today here on the Raiders Report, we're going to get into the training camp news that you need to know. And if you don't know, the Silver and Black report the training camp today, at least the veterans do. Also, coming up here on today's show, I'm going to look at the top veterans that the Silver and Black need to be keeping an eye on. And at the very end, some of the biggest roster battles, positional battles that Pete Carroll and John Spytek got to keep in the back of their mind. So if you do not know that the Las Vegas Raiders are reporting to training camp today, then you definitely have not hit that subscribe button. The rookies, they ended up reporting on July 17th, and the first padded practice is going to be tomorrow, July 23rd. Essentially, today is a day that a lot of the players show up. They're going to go through a lot of their physicals. They're just going to show up, report, kind of go through the little bit of the ins and outs, and then tomorrow is going to be the day where we actually get to see a lot of these players that we've been waiting around to see. And I can't wait to honestly just see how much fun that this team goes out there and have, because during minicamp, during OTAs, Pete Carroll made sure that this team went out there and compete, but also made sure that they had a lot of fun on top of that. So what I want to know down below is this: how many training camp practices have you been to? And bonus points if you can also mention the year that you ended up going. I know for me last season, I had one of the most fun times that I ever did with David Zahn, Taino Raider, back on August 14th. It was during the Raiders joint practice at Allegiant Stadium. It was a lot of fun. I'm hoping I get an opportunity to go out again this upcoming season. So coming up here on the Raiders Report, since the veterans are reporting today, what I wanted to do is just break down my top 10 veterans that I'm going to be keeping an eye on. And here's the thing. Y'all might want to watch some different players. I'm not going to hate on that. That's not what this show's about. But I at least want to illustrate to some of the fans that maybe didn't watch this show, May, June, July, and which guys that you need to be keeping a close eye on in the reports that come in throughout the next few weeks. So we're going to have these ranked from 10 going all the way down to number 1, being the number 1 guy to watch. The reason why Malcolm Koonce cracks my top 10 is because he had an ACL surgery last year, which honestly cost him the entire year, and it was a huge kick in the nuts, I would say, for a lot of Raiders fans out there. Now him going into another year, sign that 1-year, $12 million deal with this Raiders defensive line. If Malcolm can take that next step and look and play the way that he did in 2023 over those final 9 games, this team's going to be special. Let's go to number 9 here, Germaine Pratt. He was signed in the middle of June. It was right after the Raiders mini-camp practice, and the linebacker position was one that we were very concerned about. Las Vegas moved on from Robert Spillane, and right now you got Germaine Pratt, you got Landon Roberts, and I want to see what that linebacker duo looks like. Coming in here at number 8, the Silver and Black signed Alex Cappa very early this offseason, and this is a John Spytek guy. They have been working him predominantly at right guard, and depending on who you talk to, it kind of sounds like Cappa is the starting right guard. But if it was up to me, that's still got to be open for a battle. And I think Cappa, Jordan Meredith, Aaron Munford even being in the mix a little bit, Dylan Parham, all got to be guys that you watch. Coming in at number 7, I'm going to go with Jakorian Bennett. He's entering his 3rd year in the NFL, and he took a massive step last season, and he really did struggle as a rookie. Took a big step as a sophomore. I'll say it. He was better than Nate Hobbs last season. He was better than Jack Jones last season. He was the best Raiders cornerback that we had, but he's been working as the backup behind Eric Stokes, behind Darian Porter. If Jakorian Bennett can look the way that he did the first few games of last season, then this cornerback room might actually truly pan out. Coming in here at number 6, I'm going to go with Jeremy Chinn, a new strong safety that the Raiders brought in. And when you think of Jeremy Chinn, I want you to think of Cam Chancellor. Give me a little bam-bam action. Somebody that's going to play linebacker. Somebody that's going to play strong safety. I know that I mentioned Germaine Pratt earlier. I know I mentioned Landon Roberts earlier as well. But I think the guy that's really going to truly take over for Robert Spillane and be that captain on that defense for Patrick Graham, for this defense in general, I think it's going to be Jeremy Chinn. Coming in here at number 5 for veterans to watch, I'm going to go with Michael Mayer. And when you discuss a lot of the players on the offensive side of the football, one of the names that continuously got brought up this offseason was Michael Mayer for 2 different reasons. The first reason was the Raiders were trying to do everything in their power to see what they have in Mayer and kind of how this offense is going to work with Brock Bowers, with Mayer, and just being a run-dominant team. But I also just want to see him take that next step personally from a blocking standpoint, from an overall tight end standpoint. We know Brock Bowers can be special, and I think that we know that this offense has a chance to be special. To me, the only way that you're going to reach the true peak of this Raiders offense is if Michael Mayer looks like the tight end we were hoping when we drafted him in the second round, because if you pair that with Brock Bowers and this offensive line takes a step forward with some of the position guys that we have at wide receiver, with Ashton Genty, Michael Mayer is going to be a guy I'm going to be watching very closely. Coming in here at number 4, it's going to be cornerback Eric Stokes. He was signed to a 1-year, $4 million deal. And depending on who you talk to, Stokes might be the number 1 cornerback on this team. I do anticipate him to be one of the starters on this roster. I kind of also anticipate Darian Porter is going to be out there. But if the expectations for Stokes and Jakorian Bennett remain high, and I think we got to be excited about what Stokes brings to the table. Coming in at number 3, it's going to be Tyree Wilson. And this is basically the time for Wilson to put up or shut up. And I say that in the most respectful way possible. I bet you Tyree Wilson would say the exact same thing. And quite frankly, if you're a Raiders fan and you're not saying it's time to put up or shut up for Tyree, I don't know how much football you've been watching the past few years. I know that he's got all the athletic ability in the world. And from what I understand, he's really, truly healthy. And I think understands his role with this team for the first time, probably since joining the Las Vegas Raiders. This new regime is going to help him out a lot. The compete mentality is going to help him out a lot. And I want to see if they're using him at defensive tackle, defensive end, where exactly he's lining up on that defensive line. Let's go to number 2 here. It's going to be Tre Tucker at wide receiver, and the third-year receiver's been competing with Dante Thornton Jr. Las Vegas went out and drafted 3 wide receivers in general with Jack Besh, Thornton, Tommy Millott. Is he going to be working on the outside? I think we're going to see a lot of good stuff from Tre Tucker on the outside. But I also know that this has been a player that I have sat around after the last 2 years, and you go, he's a hell of an athlete. He's a lot better of a blocker. But sooner rather than later, you got to be able to do it on the football field. And I'm hoping now that he has an actual quarterback, you're going to see Tre Tucker take that next step. And if you're in fantasy football leagues, you might want to take Tre Tucker now. Because if you wait until after training camp or after the preseason, he might be going a little bit later in drafts. But I want you to give him a call out right now. This is going to be the pinned comment here on today's show. Who is the number 1 veteran that you're excited to watch at Raiders training camp? My answer is going to be coming up here after this YouTube ad break. Quite frankly, if your answer is not Geno Smith, then you probably haven't watched the Raiders. Jimmy Garoppolo, Brian Hoyer, Aiden O'Connell, Desmond Ridder. The list goes on and on and on. Let's face the facts. Geno Smith is the best quarterback that this team has had in quite some time. And Geno does finally give us an opportunity to be competitive week in and week out. I want to see how he meshes with his wide receivers. I want to see how he meshes with the tight ends. But I also want Geno to go out there and be that leader and be that presence that this team has desperately, desperately needed since moving on from Derek Carr. And I know a lot of Raiders fans are probably never going to move on from D.C., but I think having a quarterback like Geno Smith is going to help Raiders fans maybe not forget, move on from D.C. a little bit easier. Here are some other honorable mentions that I want to throw out there. Christian Wilkins, I didn't feature him in the video because he's not going to be out there at the time that I am recording this video. He still has to pass his physical. He's on the PUP list right now. And when he is able to come off and pass that physical, he's going to be able to practice. Colt Miller, Jacoby Myers, 2 dudes that I believe that deserve a contract extension. And if they don't get one, maybe that ends up being a story. Lecky Fotu, how does he fit in exactly with Christian Wilkins being out? Isaiah Polamau, is he really truly going to be the starting free safety? Jordan Meredith, Dylan Parra battling with Alex Cappa at guard. Maxx Crosby, if you don't watch Maxx Crosby, then you don't bleed silver and black. Darnay Holmes, is he going to be working as a starter in the slot? And then DeCamerion Richardson was named a player to watch by Dante Thornton Jr. in an interview that I did recently. So you got to know, my eyes are going to be close on him. Coming up next here on the show, we're going to look at just some Raiders camp battles to watch from a positional standpoint. I know when I broke down this video, as soon as I was thinking about the video that I wanted to do today, I wanted to be able to tell everybody that training camp was happening today. And I would imagine 95% of Raiders fans already knew that, but sometimes there's that 5% that aren't paying attention in July, which is all good. So that's why I wanted to talk about the top guys to watch. But there's also a lot of training camp battles, positional battles. And when you talk about Pete Carroll, you know there's going to be a lot of competing at training camp. Speaking of Pete Carroll is a guy that loves when people go out there and I think do their thing. And I'm somebody also that likes to not be afraid to do my thing and rock my team. And if you need a brand new Raiders t-shirt, I got two of them for you that are on sale. First off, this one, it's in gray. It is originally $50. You can get it now for $22 by going to chatsports.com/T-sale. They're t-shirts. T-sale. T-sale. It's down below in the comments. It's going to be in the description. If you're looking for the black shirt, though, this one is a little bit more expensive. I don't know why. I'm not making the prices on it. It's originally $50. You can get it for $29. It's a light material. It's a high-quality material. And if you're planning on going out to Las Vegas, you're probably going to need a t-shirt that's lightweight, that doesn't show when you're sweating. Because I know when I go out there, I always like to sweat. And it's because you're out and about, you're having some good times, having some drinks, meeting up some Raiders fans. Bottom line, t-shirts are on sale. Take advantage of it because I don't know how much longer it's going to last. So now what we're going to do here is we're going to go through some position battles that just keep an eye out on because we got a brand new regime, Pete Carroll, John Spytek, and I think one of the things that I really noticed from minicamp, rookie minicamp, regular minicamp, OTAs was Las Vegas was moving around a lot of players in different spots. But when you move on from Divine Diablo, when you move on from Robert Spillane, you're going to be talking about the top linebackers. And I'm not only just sitting up here saying Germaine Pratt, Landon Roberts, I also want to see where Devin White's working. Where exactly is Amari Gaynor going to be going? I've heard a lot of good things about Cody Lindenberg. Does that mean bad news for Tommy Eichenberg? Yes, it's important to look at who the starting linebackers are going to be, and I would imagine that the Raiders use a lot of two linebacker sets this season, just like they did last year, but you also got to consider who are the other linebackers that this organization is going to keep on this 53-man roster, because from Amari Gaynor, Devin White, Tommy Eichenberg, and Cody Lindenberg, I think there's going to be one of those guys that ends up getting cut. Let's go to number 4 here. It's going to be defensive tackle, and with the question marks that are surrounding Christian Wilkins, but I'll say this again. There's a video on my Twitter, at Mitchell Renz 365, if you want to check it out, and Wilkins is dancing in Crocs at the Raiders workout facility. That is a good sign to me. I don't know about you, but I also want to know who's going to be the guys that step up for Wilkins. Is it going to be Leki Fotu, who worked predominantly with the starters this offseason? Is it going to be somebody like Zach Carter, John Ulalu battling it out? Are we going to get the two rookies, J.J. Pegues, Tonka Hemingway? What exactly does this Raiders defensive tackle room look like? What are the rotations that Pete Carroll, Patrick Graham, Rob Leonard are all have in store? Because that's going to be the way that this team wins games on defense, winning at the line of scrimmage. And speaking of the trenches, that's where I'm going to go next here, and I'm going to look at offensive guard. Tackles were solidified. Colt Miller, DJ Glaze, nobody's going to debate that. At center, it's going to be Jackson Powers Johnson. Left guard, right guard, I think it's absolutely positively up for grabs. If it was up to me, I would put Dylan Parham at right guard, and I would put Jordan Meredith at left guard. Here's the problem. I'm not the one calling the shots, and it sounds like Alex Cappa right now is the starter at right guard, but if you're the Las Vegas Raiders, you can't do what you did last season. You can't just put somebody out there because he's got a coaching relationship, and if he's not the best player. I don't want another Cody Whitehair situation, and I want the Raiders to test out Thayer Munford at left guard. I want the Raiders to test out Dylan Parham at right guard. What is the best overall offensive line? That should be the line that we put out there. And the top 4 offensive guards right now, Alex Cappa, Dylan Parham, Jordan Meredith, and Thayer Munford. Those are all 4 guys to watch. So I am always going to be somebody that asks a lot of questions. That's kind of how this whole show ended up getting started. So what battle are you most excited to see at Raiders training camp? My top 2 answers are coming up here in just a moment. Let's go to number 2 here, and it's going to be cornerback. I am a little bit scared about the Raiders secondary, and I also could say that free safety is a bigger scare, but cornerback's going to be the position that I stare at a little bit more because of Eric Stokes, because of the Raiders drafting Darian Porter in the 3rd round, because of Dante Thornton Jr. saying to watch out for DeCamerion Richardson, because Jakorian Bennett was the best corner last season. I know that Stokes and Porter mainly worked as the number ones this offseason, but Bennett was somebody that I thought deserved a shot to be a starter. And if he's 100% healthy, he said he was dealing with a lot of shoulder injuries last season, which was one of the reasons why, obviously, his season ended. But when he spoke to the media about a month ago, he said that his shoulder's feeling a lot better. He does finally feel a lot healthier. And I know that Bennett could be a special player. The way that I'm looking at Jakorian Bennett this year is kind of the same way that I'm looking at Tre Tucker. There's been flashes of really specialness. I don't even know if that's a word. Where these guys can show that they can be special. But I need to see it on a more consistent, reliable basis. And that's why I'm going to be looking at corner. But number one, I'm going to say it's wide receiver. And entering this year, one of the positions that scared me the most was the wide receiver position. Jakobi Meyers looking for a contract extension. Tre Tucker, Dante Thornton Jr. were working as the top outside receivers. But Jack Bech was drafted in the second round. And quite frankly, I said that Jack Bech was going to be the Raiders' number 2 receiver behind Jakobi Meyers. But what exactly does it look like for a dude like Tommy Millette? How much work does a guy like Kyle Phillips end up getting in there, who was one of the first signings that the Raiders had due to his connection with Chip Kelly? This receiver room needs to be better than what it was last season. But just like we want the Raiders, like I want Raiders fans, again, not to forget about Derek Carr, but move on from DC. Just like I want Raiders fans to be okay with the idea that we moved on from Davante Adams, and that was the right thing to do. If this wide receiver room can step up and help Geno Smith truly be as valuable as what he can be, we are going to win a lot more football games than I think what people realize. If you don't know my live show schedule this week, it probably means you missed my video yesterday on Charles Snowden. It's all good. It's all good. Today, I am just telling y'all that we did end up going live for our Madden simulation against the Giants. If you didn't see that game, please go check it out. I'm going to be live later on today at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific, and then we will be live on Thursday. No Friday this week. Chat Sports is off on Friday. We're getting ready for the NFL season. Raiders, Chiefs for a chance to win the AFC West. Now, this was the Madden playoff picture before the game against the New York Giants. I just want to throw that out there. This will be an updated graphic depending on when you guys tune in on Tuesday. The point of this is this. I am seeing and showing y'all that the Raiders have a shot to win the AFC West, and I understand it's just a Madden simulation, but if you've been following us along all season, I just wanted to be able to keep you up to date of where the Raiders stand in this Madden playoff picture. And you know what? I asked some people in the show that I did on Monday, if you've been following along and you've been watching our Madden sims, then type Madden down below. I want to see who's been rocking. So Antonio, Christy, Darren, Jose, Paul, I saw your comments. I appreciate you, and I figured you're going to be watching this late in the video because only my real ones actually watch this late.